Hello, my name is Elise Lewis. I am Miss Black Florida 2020, competing in the Miss Black USA pageant. And today, for my reading, I am going to complete a book by Russell Simmons with Chris Morrow called Success Through Stillness. This was a gift given to me, and the subtitle is Meditation Made Simple. So, let's begin. Chapter 1, The Path to Happiness. Here's a quote from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Life finds its purpose and fulfillment in the expansion of happiness. Why should you meditate? The answer is very simple: to be happy, which is the only reason you're here. That might sound like a very simple take on the meaning of life, but I believe it with every fiber of in my body. Yes, I'm certain that if we were to strip away our egos, desires, fears, and insecurities, all that would be left is happiness. There are days where it feels like we can almost touch this truth. Days where, when we wake up, the sun seems to be shining a little brighter, the birds are singing a little bit louder, and we walk out into the world with a bounce in our step and a song in our heart. Yet there are also days when we start out feeling nervous about what lies ahead of us, unsure about the situations we're about to encounter, where it could be 80 degrees and sunny out, but we feel like we're walking through a cold, dark world. The purpose of this book is to show you that you can control which of those worlds you live in. You can decide that no matter what is happening around you, the sun will always be shining in your world. Or you can decide that your world is always going to be a cold, dark place. The point is, the external world doesn't make the choice. You do. Obviously, most people will prefer to live in the sunshine. The problem is that they just don't know how to step into it. I'm here to tell you that meditation can take you there. That sitting in silence for 20 minutes can be a tool to wash away the pain, frustration, and insecurities that have been coloring your existence and allow you to get back to the state of happiness that is your birthright. The path that I will lay out in this book represents the simplest route between your current state and that happiness. As your guide, I will not lead you on any detours or suggest that we take the more scenic route. No, this is a simple and straightforward guide on how to use the tool of meditation to get the most out of your life. Written with the authority of someone who has used that very tool every day for the past 15 years himself. I want to keep this book very simple and direct in order to help demystify meditation, to clear up any misconceptions or uneasiness that you might have about this ancient practice and help you see that it's a valuable and relevant tool in the modern world. Just the fact that you're reading these words means that, at the very least, you're curious about the practice, but maybe there's still something that's holding you back from committing fully. Maybe you still have a vague sense that there's something foreign or mystical about meditation. Even worse, something ungodly. Or maybe you're still skeptical that it really works. Or maybe, and this one always makes me laugh, you believe that it could help you, but you're just too busy to meditate. I'll dive into these misconceptions and several other ones over the course of the book, but let me say right here that there is nothing foreign about meditation. In fact, it's way more mainstream than you probably realize. Oprah, Jerry Seinfeld, Paul McCartney, Phil Jackson, Ellen DeGeneres, Forrest Whitaker, these are all people that you know of and whose success has inspired millions of people. And they all meditate and credit the practice as one of the foundations of their success. I'll be sharing their thoughts on meditation and the thoughts of many leaders from the arts, business, education, science, and the spiritual communities throughout the book, because I want you to realize that when you become a meditator, you are joining a community of successful people, a community of people who move through life on their own terms and maximize their potential. To share an example that really illustrates this point, earlier this year, I bumped into Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh of the NBA's Miami Heat at a party Dwayne and Gabrielle Union were hosting in Malibu. It was not long after the Heat had just won their second straight championship and after I had congratulated Dwayne and Chris. we got to talking about how practices they could use to stay energized and focused. I told them how much meditation had helped me maintain focus in my career and suggested they give it a try. You guys should definitely try it because though you might not realize it, you've already experienced the sort of focus and stillness meditation creates, I told them. You know how when you get out on the court and get in a zone, when it feels like the basket is as big as an ocean, and every time you put up a shot, you just know it's going to go in? Well, meditation is going to help you get in that zone off the court too. Imagine being able to live in that sort of focus. They were both incredibly intrigued. Everything we do is about trying to find more precision, more focus when we're out on the court, Dwayne said, to figure out how to push ourselves into that zone. Do you really think meditation could help do that? I'll put it to you like this, I said. The Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." Well, meditation stills your mind completely. So if the whole universe is going to surrender to a still mind, imagine what an opposing team will do. They're just going to lay right down. They both laughed, but they also both made a point of asking me for advice on how to get started. So I put them in touch with Bob Roth, a great friend and meditation teacher of mine who's been teaching the practice for more than 40 years. In fact, he's the person who taught some of the folks I just mentioned, including Oprah and Ellen. But I'm definitely going to send them a copy of this book too in case they never followed up with Bob. It was conversations like that and many, many others that I've had over the years that inspired me to write this book. Because while it's great if Dwayne Wade can use meditation to become an even greater player, the best thing I could do with the knowledge I've acquired over the years is share Lao Tzu's message with everyone and anyone who listen. To the mind that is still, the whole universe will surrender. And meditation is both the easiest and most effective tool at your disposal to calm down your turbulent mind. I realize a lot of you have probably come to these pages because you're looking to duplicate the kind of success I've enjoyed in my field that Dwayne Wayne has had in his, or Oprah in hers. So let me say without any reservation that I consider meditation to be the most effective tool that you can employ to build a similar success in your own life. But aside from the ways meditation will help you improve your career, I'm also going to speak on the many other benefits it will bring you to your day-to-day life. Decrease stress, improve health, especially your nervous system, better eating habits, and increased focus. And those are just some of the more tangible benefits. I'm also going to talk about how meditation will bring a sense of peace, compassion, and balance into your life. Those might sound like vague or unnecessary concepts. You might be thinking, just teach me how to be more successful and healthier, and I'll be good. But if I weren't promoting them, then I'd really just be wasting your time. Sure, you could use meditation to help you make more money, or get ahead in your field, or even become healthier. But without a sense of peace and compassion in your life, you'll really be no better off than when you first picked up this book. This idea of looking past material success and finding sustainable, long-term happiness inside yourself was also at the heart of my most recent book, Super Rich, A Guide to Having It All. I'd encourage you to check it out if anything in these pages resonates with you. In fact, one of the reasons I decided to put this book together is because so many people came up to me after Super Rich was published and told me that the chapter on meditation had changed their lives. That, for the first time, instead of reacting to their thoughts and emotions, they were actually in control of them. Instead of feeling aimless and unsure about the direction their lives were headed in, through meditation, they felt confident and empowered. I know the feeling. Since I first embraced the practice over 15 years ago, I've meditated every day. No matter where I am or what's on my schedule, I won't walk out into the world until I've had 20 minutes of meditation. I've tried starting my day with coffee, with food, and even with drugs. But nothing comes close to getting me in the right frame of mind like meditation. which is why after I'm done singing the praises of the practice of meditation, I'm going to teach you how to do it in the most direct and accessible way possible. I'm going to show you how committing to 20 minutes of silence twice a day will radically transform how you feel about yourself and your relationship with the world. But please don't jump ahead to that part yet. Even if you feel like you're already sold on the practice and just want to get right to it. This is a short book, and I've tried not to put anything extra in here that's going to needlessly get in the way of your embracing this beautiful and simple practice. But it is important for you to learn about the effects of meditation will have on you. Because as eager as you might be to start right now, I won't lie to you, committing to meditation will be a challenge. 20 minutes, twice a day, might not sound like much right now, but when you also have to walk your dog in the morning, or make your kids lunch and get them ready for school, or get yourself ready for work, or even feeling hungover from the night before, suddenly it can be hard to find those minutes in the morning. Just as when you have to pick up your kids from basketball practice, answer a bunch of emails, pay a bunch of bills, make dinner, or finish an assignment for your class, it can be challenging to fit in those 20 minutes in the evening as well. Which is why I really want you to familiarize yourself with as much of the benefits of meditation as possible, so that no matter how distracted you might get by the world and what's happening around you, you're still going to be motivated to get those 20 minutes in. And no matter how hectic your life might be feeling or how many pressing things you've still got to do on your to-do list, you'll understand that the best thing you can be doing at that time is to simply be still. Chapter 2, The Making of a Meditator. Long before the world started calling me a music mogul or the godfather of hip hop, growing up in Hollis, Queens, my friends and family used to call me Rush. As nicknames go, it was a good one, because back then it seemed like nothing could hold my attention for more than a few minutes at a time. Definitely not school, or church on Sunday, or a job, or a pretty girl might hold it for a minute. But soon I'd be rushing after the next girl who passed me in the school hallways or on the streets. Everything I did, the way I walked, talked, ate, and even slept was rushed. If I was growing up in Hollis today, there's no doubt I'd be diagnosed with a severe case of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and put on a double dose of Ritalin or Adderall. Thankfully, back then, I was viewed as only being a bit rambunctious. I did come close to getting in some serious trouble coming up on the streets of Queens in the 70s. Put it this way, Melly Mel could have been talking about me and my friends in the early hip hop hit The Message, when he rapped about the number book talkers / thugs, pimps and pushers, and the big money makers, and how we wanted to grow up to be just like them. But despite doing some heavy flirting with that lifestyle, I could never go all the way with it. Even if I did have moments of admiration for those thugs and pushers, I also had an innate sense that there was something better for me out there too. And as I became a teenager and saw so many friends beginning to fall into the traps of petty crime, gangs, and addiction, I began to think I need to take a different path. For me, that path led to hip hop. At the time, it might have looked like a dead end to most people, but it gave me the perfect outlet to express all the energy I was feeling on the streets of New York, but in a way that was positive and empowering instead of hurtful and destructive. I'm not going to sit here and run down my list of accomplishments from those days. I'll assume that if you picked up this book, then you already know a little something about Curtis Blow, Run DMC, LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, and Def Jam recordings. And if for some reason you don't, then just type those names into YouTube and prepare to get lost in some incredible music. But suffice it to say, I did experience a good deal of worldly success working with those MCs and a lot of other incredibly talented artists as well. In the ensuing years, I was able to find success in fashion, film, financial services, and now mostly philanthropic and social initiatives. I've loved being able to build a bridge between the incredible culture of hip hop and mainstream America. It has been inspiring work, and I felt and continue to feel blessed to be doing it. The irony is, however, that for many years I was way off base about what was driving my accomplishments. Certainly, as a young man, I figured that the secret to my success was doing a lot of drugs, going to a lot of parties, sleeping with a lot of women, and chasing money wherever it might take me. After all, that's the lifestyle I was living. People kept telling me how great I was doing. So there had to be a connection, right? I couldn't see it at the time, but in retrospect, nothing could have been farther from the truth. The inspiration that helped me become a champion for hip hop didn't come from driving around in a limousine. It came from a quiet moment in the studio, working on the final mix for Run DMC's Rock Box, and thinking, I want to share this incredible feeling with the world. Just as the inspiration that helped me create my clothing line, Fat Farm, didn't come from sniffing coke in a club surrounded by models, but rather from the sense of peace and tranquility I got when I looked at the sketches for a new jacket and felt myself getting lost in the beauty of the design. Those rare moments of stillness, not the chaotic life I had created, were the foundation of my happiness and success. Today, there is zero doubt in my mind that if I had kept on believing that the noise was what was fueling me, my life would have fallen apart. When my records had stopped being hot, or my clothes had stopped being cool, which is inevitable in those sorts of industries, I would have figured, I really need another big record. Better find some more parties and go get high. But chasing more drugs or parties wouldn't have made me even a centimeter more successful, or happy, or creative. And obviously, it could have made my life a lot worse if it got in the way of my work or took away my focus, or turned me into an addict or empty party boy. What I thought was inspiration was really nothing but noise. And if I had kept stuffing that noise into my head, the less and less I would have been able to hear those quiet moments that I actually needed so badly. I would have kept pushing myself to what I thought was the top of the mountain, but in reality, I would have just been setting myself up for a terrible fall. Thankfully, I never had to experience that sort of fall. Despite the reckless lifestyle I was living, I never actually crashed and burned like so many of the other people I was racing around town with in those days. I didn't have to lose my job and my house or go into rehab to realize that I had been chasing the wrong things. Instead, I was able to slow down and see that my success had always been in those moments of stillness that I'd experienced. And that the more I could access that stillness, then the more happiness and success I could experience. I can honestly say that without that stillness, there's no way I'd be where I am today. Not only professionally, but personally and spiritually too. After over 30 years in the entertainment industry, I still wake up as excited to go to work every day as I did the first day Rick Rubin and I opened Def Jam Recordings. I can honestly say that whatever I'm going to do tomorrow has me as excited and energized as I felt when Run DMC was about to go on stage at Live Aid, when Public Enemy was about to release It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, or when I put Jay-Z on the Nutty Professor soundtrack and watched the world fall in love with him. It's an incredible blessing to be able to feel as energized and focused in my 50s as I did in my 20s and 30s. But even more important, I also wake up every day knowing that I'm in a great place with people closest to me. My beautiful daughters, Ming Lee and Aoki, their mother, Kimora Lee, and my brothers, Danny and Joey. It's a tremendous comfort to know that no matter what these little disagreements, frustrations, or setbacks I might have during the course of a day, at the end of it, nothing is going to change the love I share with my family. It certainly provides me with more comfort than any gold plaques on my wall or fancy car in my garage ever did. Every day, I'm so thankful that I know what it means to operate out of stillness. I won't lie, it did take me a long time to get here. Years and years, in fact. As I'm quick to tell people, I had to do a lot of damage before I finally accepted that I liked early morning meditation better than late night drinking. But once I did come to that realization, there was no turning back. The yoga connection. For me, the first step in leaving the partying lifestyle behind came when I walked into a yoga studio. As I've shared many times before, my initial motivation for going to a yoga class wasn't to help me get centered spiritually or even to get my limbs more limber. It was because I thought it would be a great place to meet beautiful women, and man, was it ever. But while beautiful women might have been what lured me in, it was something else entirely that kept me coming back. Sitting on my yoga mat and simply focusing on my breath, my crazy, hectic, and often out of control life began to slow down. All the anxieties and stresses that had consumed my day up until that point suddenly didn't feel so urgent, so pressing anymore. I could almost feel all the noise rushing out of my head, like someone had untied a balloon. To be able to see my thoughts slowly come in and go out of my mind, instead of having them rush through my mind like a runaway train, was the greatest feeling. I can call it great now, but truth be told, that sense of stillness was very scary at first. I was Rush, after all, the guy who talked a mile a minute and always had a cell phone glued to his ear. Before everyone else looked that way too. The guy who was constantly on a mission to make more money, have sex with more women, and snort more coke than the next man, and who had experienced a lot of success living that way. That's how I saw myself. I didn't know who this peaceful, calm, and centered guy sitting on the mat with a silly grin on his face was. A guy who couldn't have cared less about parties, money, or material success. I'll admit, I'm still working on the women part. Suddenly, my identity felt like it was a mistake. It felt like it was at stake. And even worse, at the time, my money. I remember walking out of that first yoga class, turning to my friend Bobby Shriver and saying, if I keep doing this shit, I'm going to lose all my money. Bobby and I still laugh about that moment today because, as I've said, nothing could have been farther from the truth. Far from making me lose my golden touch, that sense of stillness I experienced in yoga and later in meditation actually was what prolonged and saved my career. After getting past that initial moment of doubt, I became incredibly focused on experiencing that sense of stillness again and again. The stillness that reminded me that I could be a better person, a better friend, a better citizen of the world, as well as a better businessman. Soon I found myself going to yoga every single day if I could fit it into my schedule. Nowadays, fitting yoga into my schedule isn't even a question. My assistants automatically know to set aside time for a yoga class no matter where I am in the world. And people who really know me always ask to have their meetings with me scheduled for after my class because they know I'll be much more calm and focused. The stillness I experienced in yoga was such a welcome relief from the chaos of my life at that time. What was even greater was the high I'd feel once class was over, when both my body and mind felt completely tuned in and energized. If there was a problem, it was only that sometimes I couldn't quite hold on to that high as long as I wanted to. I'd get out of the class feeling incredibly peaceful and calm, only to find out that I had an important message waiting for me that I needed to respond to at once. 5 minutes later, I'd be arguing over record royalties or the release date of a new clothing line, and that stillness would be lost to the distractions of the world. Or it might not have been anything as dramatic as a business dispute. Many times, I remember walking out of class feeling completely at ease when suddenly there would be a loud noise, like a car honking or a door slamming, and then poof, the stillness was gone, and instantly I'd be back to my distracted self. So, like a lot of people who really cherish that hour on the yoga mat, I started to look for ways that I could stretch the stillness, how I could take those moments of clarity I was experiencing during yoga class and extend them into the rest of the day. It was that quest that led me to the practice of meditation. I don't remember one person in particular pulling me aside and telling me that I needed to meditate or have an aha moment when I realized that meditation was going to change my life. Instead, I began to realize that many of the people whom I practice yoga with also practice meditation and seemed equally committed to both practices. Eventually, I figured I'd try it myself. I didn't know it at the time. The progression from yoga to meditation is a very natural one because at their essence, they're really the same thing. To some, that might be hard to see. After all, how could something as physically challenging as yoga, which asks you to twist yourself up into a pretzel and stand on your head, have anything to do with meditation, which just asks you to sit in silence? Yoga and meditation, however, are actually both part of what is known as the 8 limbs of classical yoga. Despite having different outward appearances, both dhyana, meditation, and asana, the physical poses of yoga, are designed to take you to the same place, which is the stillness within your heart. I know this isn't a book about yoga, but I really wanted to make that point because while I'm beyond excited that yoga has become such a large part of our cultural fabric over the past 20 years, I sense that not everyone understands what the goal of the yoga practice truly is. It's not to lose weight or to get more toned, though you probably will, or, as I have to keep reminding myself, to be around a lot of good-looking people, though you probably will too. The only goal of yoga is to help you become at peace. The great Christian yogi, Yogananda, wrote that the actual term yoga should be defined as cessation of the fluctuations of the mind caused by the afflictions. In other words, yoga isn't about getting our bodies in shape, it's about helping us calm our minds. It's the same goal of meditation. Yet instead of standing on your head to achieve that peace, you simply sit down in a chair and close your eyes. Sounds a little bit more approachable, no? But if meditation is such a simple way to achieve peace and happiness, then why do so many people seem reluctant to embrace the practice? Everywhere I look, I see more and more new people coming to yoga. I think that's nothing short of a blessing for humanity, but I wish I saw the same number of people flocking to meditation. I think part of it is that humans, we're drawn to group activities. As much as we like to complain about each other sometimes, we love being around other people. We get confidence and courage from seeing other people do something that we'd like to try, but aren't quite sure how to. So if every day you see happy people with a smile on their face and a yoga mat on their back walking into a building, it's only a matter of time before you'll want to go in there and check out what's happening too. Or if every time you pick up a magazine or go to a website, you see a picture of Gwyneth Paltrow or Jennifer Aniston headed to a yoga class. Eventually, you might head to one too. Meditation, on the other hand, doesn't have an easy to apply public face. While there are many group forms of meditation, from the outlawed Chinese Falun Gong to Quakers meeting for worship, the type of meditation I'm promoting in this book is usually practiced in solitude. So while you might see pictures of me with my yoga mat and think, Russell seems happy. Maybe I should try that too. When you see a picture of Ellen DeGeneres or Oprah smiling, you might not make the connection that a large part of their peace comes from meditation. Here's a quick list of the 8 limbs of yoga. Yama, universal morality. Niyama, personal observances such as cleanliness, contentment, hard work, dedication, faith and focus, as well as study of scripture. Asana, or seat, body poses, in the physical practice of yoga. Pranayama, breathing exercises and the control of life force. Pratyahara, control of the senses. Dharana, concentration of one's purpose in life. Dhyana, meditation and devotion to the divine. Samadhi, union with the divine. Meditation's solitary nature is one reason it hasn't reached as many people, which is everyone, as it needs to. Another reason, which I'd like to address now, is that despite how accessible, easy, and inexpensive, can you get any cheaper than free? The practice of meditation is too many people still perceive that there are barriers between them and those 20 minutes of stillness. So let's address some of them right now. And we will in the next recording.